3 years. That's how long it had been since I'd heard from my daughter. 3 years of silence echoing louder than any argument we'd ever had. And yet, on a misty September morning in Washington, a white envelope appeared in my mailbox, my name written on it in the careful script I'd memorized from a lifetime of birthday cards and thank you notes. But this time, it wasn't from my Anna. At least, that's what my wife, Helen, suspected. I remember the moment as if I'm still standing in our driveway, the mailbox door creaking on its rusty hinge. My hand shook just a bit as I reached for that envelope, heart skipping in my chest. The world outside was gray and wet, the smell of cedar and rain in the air, but I hardly noticed anything except the way my name was written. Samuel Benson. My daughter's handwriting, or what looked like it. Inside the house, Helen was in the kitchen, humming as she wiped down the counters. Helen! I called out, not caring if I sounded too excited. Helen, you need to see this. She came into the hallway, her silver hair tied up, glasses perched on her nose. What's got you so rattled, Sam? She saw the envelope and froze, her whole face changing in a second. Is that? She whispered, stepping closer. It's from Anna. Or at least, it looks like it. Helen took it from my trembling hands, holding it up to the window. The Seattle drizzle blurred everything outside, but inside, the sunlight hit the envelope just right. She ran her finger over the writing, her mouth pressed into a worried line. You sure you're ready for this? She asked gently. I nodded, though honestly, I wasn't sure of anything. It was Anna's birthday, September 12th. The day used to mean balloons and pancakes, laughter echoing off the old wooden walls of our little craftsman home. Now, it just meant another year lost. We sat side by side on the couch, the envelope between us like some ancient artifact. I stared at it, remembering the last time I'd stood on Anna's porch, begging her to talk things through. She lived in a fancy condo over in Queen and far from the simple life we tried to build. That was the afternoon everything fell apart, the day her husband, Rick, glared at me from the shadows of their entryway and said, Maybe it's time to let your daughter make her own choices. It was always about choices with Rick. He made plenty, most of them the wrong kind. Especially the ones involving other people's money. Anna didn't want to see it. She thought I was being overbearing, but all I ever wanted was to keep her safe. Do you want to open it? Helen asked, her voice softer than I'd heard in months. I shook my head, afraid of what I might find inside. 3 years of missed birthdays, silent holidays, and unopened gifts. Could one letter really change any of that? I kept thinking about Anna when she was little, running down the hallway in her pajamas, hair wild, jumping into my arms. I missed that girl. I missed her laughter, her stubbornness, even the way she'd argue with me over nothing. But time changes people, and sometimes, it just takes everything you thought was solid and tears it right out from under you. The envelope sat on the coffee table for an hour before I picked it up again. I could barely breathe as I turned it over in my hands. Do you remember the last thing you said to her? Helen asked. I did. I told her that family was worth fighting for. That no man, especially not one who spent nights losing money at the casinos and hiding bank statements, was worth breaking up a family over. She told me I was old-fashioned, that I needed to trust her judgment. But the last thing she said was, If you can't respect my choices, maybe you shouldn't be part of my life. That was 3 years ago. Helen squeezed my hand. No matter what's in there, Sam, we'll handle it together. She always was the strong one. I took a deep breath, hooked my finger under the flap, and started to tear it open. Wait, Helen said suddenly, grabbing my wrist. What's wrong? She brought the envelope closer, squinting at the address. Give me a look at that handwriting. I frowned. Looks fine to me. Maybe a little shaky, but... Helen shook her head. Anna always wrote with a little tilt to the right, remember? And she pressed so hard you could feel it through 3 pages. This is different. See the way the S in Samuel curls? She never did that. My hopes started to deflate, replaced by something colder. Maybe she was right. Maybe someone else wrote this. But who would? Why would someone pretend to be my daughter, on her birthday, no less? The kitchen clock ticked. The rain picked up, rattling the windows. Helen looked at me, her eyes shining with worry and something else, fear. Should we open it? I nodded, heart pounding for reasons I couldn't explain. Yeah. We need to know. And with that, I unfolded the letter, my hand steadying as Helen leaned in close, her warmth grounding me in a world that suddenly didn't feel so safe. Helen and I sat there on the old brown couch, the envelope open between us, rain still drumming on the roof. I pulled the letter out, unfolding it slowly, almost afraid it might bite. My eyes scanned the words, and right away, something felt off. Not just the handwriting, but the tone, too formal, too cold, like a message from a stranger instead of a daughter. Dear Dad. It started, and my heart clenched. Anna never called me Dad in writing, always Pop, or, when she was feeling playful, Old Man. But I kept reading, Helen's hand tightening around mine. I desperately need your help. I'm in the hospital and require emergency surgery that my insurance won't cover. The doctors say I need $17,500 immediately, or I may not survive. I know we haven't spoken in years, but you're the only one I can turn to. Please don't let our past stand in the way of saving your daughter's life. A long string of numbers and letters followed, some kind of crypto wallet, I realized. My jaw tightened as I read the final lines. Please wire the money today. Time is critical. I'm sorry for everything. Your loving daughter, Anna. I let the letter drop onto the coffee table. Helen looked at me, her face gone pale. She'd never write like that, she whispered. No, I agreed. She wouldn't. She knows I hate these digital money things. And Anna, if she needed help, she'd call. Or she'd come herself. Not this. But I couldn't shake the feeling that someone out there knew just how desperate I was for contact. They timed this perfectly, Anna's birthday, after 3 years of silence. Whoever sent this wasn't some random scammer, they knew us. Knew how much we'd suffered, how much hope we still clung to. Helen shook her head, tears brimming in her eyes. Someone wants to hurt us, Sam. My fists clenched in my lap. Not if I can help it. I stood, reaching for the old cordless phone on the kitchen wall. The number was still memorized, even after all these years. I dialed, heart pounding. 1 ring, 2, 3, then voicemail. Anna's voice, professional and distant, not the girl I remembered. Anna, it's your father. Please call me back. It's important. I hung up and dialed again. And again. Each time voicemail. I tried texting, the message coming out shaky. Are you okay? Please call us. No reply. Helen watched me pace the kitchen, her hands twisting the hem of her sweater. Sam, what if she's really in trouble? I don't know, I admitted. But this isn't right. This isn't her. My mind was racing. I thought about Rick, her husband, the kind of man who always had an angle, always knew how to push a story just far enough to make you question yourself. I remembered how he'd stared at me the last time we'd met, eyes cold and calculating, a smirk on his face. If there was money involved, he was always nearby. But would he stoop this low? Would he fake a hospital emergency just to squeeze cash out of the parents he'd worked so hard to alienate? Maybe I should go down there, I said, grabbing my jacket. If she's really hurt, if she's really in a hospital. Helen caught my arm. Don't go storming in. Not after last time. She was right, of course. The last time I'd shown up at their condo, Anna had barely opened the door. Rick had stepped in between us, arms folded, telling me that I was just making things worse. Anna wouldn't even look me in the eye. I'd left that day with rain dripping down my neck and my heart broken in two. But this was different. Someone was using my daughter's name, our pain, our hope, as a weapon. I sat down again, staring at the letter. We need to show this to someone. Maybe the police? Helen nodded. First, try her again. If she doesn't answer by morning, we call the police. I spent that whole afternoon in a daze, the letter always within arm's reach. Every time the phone rang, I jumped. But it was never Anna. As night fell, I sat at the kitchen table, staring out at the backyard, rain falling through the glow of the porch light. My mind spun with memories. Anna at 8, building a snow fort in the yard. Anna at 12, playing piano for her grandmother. How did we get here? How did love and pride and stubbornness twist us into strangers? Helen sat beside me, her silence comforting in its own way. We'll find the truth, Sam. I know we will. Before bed, I tried Anna's number one more time. Straight to voicemail. I left a final message. Anna, please, just tell me you're safe. That's all I need. That night I barely slept. Every creak of the house, every gust of wind, sounded like a knock at the door, a sign that Anna, or her ghost, might be waiting on the other side. And in my dreams I saw that letter burning in the fireplace, the words, "Your loving daughter," curling to ash. Morning arrived gray and restless. I barely touched my coffee, the taste as bitter as my thoughts. Helen tried to keep things normal, bustling around the kitchen, frying eggs, humming an old tune. But we both knew there was no going back to normal now. I'll try her office, I said, opening my laptop. Anna worked for a tech startup down by the waterfront, a place called Riverbite. I found the company's number on their website and dialed, tapping the counter with nervous fingers. A young receptionist answered. Riverbite Solutions, this is Molly. Hello? I'm looking for Anna Benson, my daughter. This is her father, Samuel. Is she in today? There was a pause. I'm sorry, sir. Anna's out on personal leave. I can leave a message for her? Do you know if she's all right? My voice cracked more than I wanted. I'm not sure, sir. She left a few days ago, said it was a family matter. I'll let her know you called. I thanked her and hung up, feeling worse than before. Anna never took time off. Even when she had the flu, she'd work from her laptop in bed. Was it possible the letter was real after all? Or was the scammer just covering their tracks, making her look unreachable? Helen watched my face, worry lines etched deep in her brow. What did they say? She's on leave. Nobody seems to know why. I grabbed the letter again, turning it over and over, searching for some clue. The handwriting was close, but not perfect. Whoever wrote this knew just enough about Anna to be dangerous. I needed to do something. I needed answers. By noon, the rain had let up, leaving the world smelling clean but unsettled. I pulled on my old rain jacket, the one Anna had given me for Christmas back when she still called me Pop, and grabbed the letter. Helen stood in the doorway as I headed for the car. Don't pick a fight, Sam. Just listen if you get the chance. I squeezed her hand. I'll do my best. The drive to Queen Anne took me past our old haunts, Lake Union glittering in the weak sunlight, the familiar streets of Fremont and Ballard, old diners and bookstores we visited as a family. Everything looked the same, and yet it felt a lifetime away. Anna's street was lined with tall maples, their leaves just starting to turn orange. Her building was one of those modern places with big glass windows and sleek lines, cold, if you asked me, but she'd loved it. A fresh start, she'd called it, after her marriage to Rick. I parked 2 blocks away and walked, rehearsing what I'd say. Maybe I'd just hand her the letter and wait. Maybe I'd apologize again, for old arguments and things left unsaid. Maybe I'd finally get through to her. At the door, I pressed the buzzer. No answer. I tried again, heart pounding. Finally, a voice crackled through the speaker. deeper than Anna's. Yeah? I recognized it instantly. Rick. It's Sam. Is Anna home? A long pause. No, she's not. And even if she were, you're not welcome here, Sam. I need to talk to her. It's important. She doesn't want to see you. You've done enough damage already. That last part stung, but I forced myself to stay calm. Look, Rick, just tell her to call us. Something's wrong. The speaker clicked off. Conversation over. I stood on the sidewalk, Seattle traffic hissing past. Across the street, a group of kids ran laughing through the puddles, their parents trailing behind. The world kept spinning, indifferent to my little tragedy. I wandered to a nearby park, sat on a damp bench, and pulled the letter from my pocket. I thought about Helen waiting at home, probably watching the clock, wondering if I'd come back with good news or just more silence. My phone buzzed, a text from Helen. Any luck? I typed back, no. Rick answered. Anna wasn't there, or at least he says so. The rain started up again, gentle at first, then harder, soaking through my jacket. But I didn't move. I sat there, reading and rereading the letter, searching for hope in the spaces between words. Suddenly, something occurred to me. The crypto wallet number. Maybe the police could trace it, or maybe Anna would recognize it if she saw it. Or maybe, just maybe, it would lead us to whoever was behind this mess. I decided to stop at the local precinct on my way home. I felt foolish, an old man with a soggy letter, asking a young officer for help. But the woman at the desk listened patiently as I explained, nodding in all the right places. This sort of scam is more common than you'd think, she said finally. But it's rare for someone to copy a family member's handwriting so well. We'll make a report. Keep your phone on. If anything else arrives, call us right away. I thanked her and drove home, windshield wipers thumping time to my anxious thoughts. The city lights shimmered on the wet pavement as I crossed the bridge back to Ballard, the place Anna still called her hometown, even after everything changed. When I walked through the door, Helen was waiting, her eyes searching my face. No news, I told her, voice tired and hollow. But the police are looking into it. She hugged me hard, and for a moment I let myself hope that this nightmare might someday end. That night, just before bed, my phone buzzed. A new number. My hands shook as I answered, praying for Anna's voice. But all I heard was a low, muffled breath, and then the call ended. The next morning broke cold and bright, the sun finally forcing its way through the heavy clouds that had pressed over Seattle for days. Helen found me already awake, sitting at the kitchen table with the police report, Anna's letter, and my second mug of coffee. I'd barely slept. Every sound in the house had put me on edge. Any more strange calls? She asked, her voice husky with worry. I shook my head. Just that one. Nothing since. Helen placed her hand on mine, steadying me. Maybe it was Anna trying to reach out. Or maybe it was someone making sure we got the letter, I replied, trying not to sound as bitter as I felt. We spent the morning combing through old messages, emails, even the family photo albums, looking for anything, a clue, a memory, something we'd missed. It was Helen who spotted it, a selfie Anna had posted to her work profile almost a month ago, smiling on the rooftop of her apartment building with the city skyline behind her. She looks okay here, Helen said, hope flickering in her voice. No sign of hospitals, no signs of surgery. She's alive at least, I whispered. But was she safe? Around noon, I decided to do what I'd been avoiding for days, call Rick directly. I found his work number, a construction company out in Renton, and dialed. The receptionist connected me to his office. He answered on the third ring. This is Rick. It's Sam. I need to know if Anna is safe. He was quiet for a second, maybe weighing his words. She's fine, Sam. She's taking some time for herself. There's nothing to worry about. Then why the letter? Why the scam? Rick's voice sharpened. What letter? So I told him about the fake handwriting, the plea for money, the crypto wallet. And the call last night that made my blood run cold. He let out a heavy sigh. Sam, I swear I had nothing to do with any of that. Anna, she's been going through a lot. Maybe someone at her work got hold of your details, I don't know. But she's not in the hospital. She's just sorting things out. His tone changed a little, growing distant, almost resentful. Honestly, she doesn't want to talk to you right now. You should let her be. I ended the call, not knowing what to believe. I sat staring at the phone, my mind tangled in knots of suspicion and guilt. Helen listened as I replayed the conversation, my words stumbling out half-formed. He says she's not in any danger. But he's hiding something. I can feel it. Helen frowned. Then we wait. She'll come back to us when she's ready. But waiting never was my strong suit. That afternoon, I took a walk through the old neighborhood, hoping the rhythm of my steps would settle my nerves. The houses here had seen us through graduations and birthdays, arguments and reconciliations. Every yard held echoes of Anna's laughter, her first bike, the tree she used to climb, the patch of garden she'd insisted on planting wildflowers in. I stopped by the grocery store for a few things. On my way out, a familiar face called my name. It was Charlie Lewis, a neighbor from 3 doors down, the kind who always knew a little more than he let on. How's the family, Sam? Charlie asked, concern in his eyes. I tried to give a reassuring smile. We're hanging in. Have you heard from Anna? Or seen her around? Charlie nodded. Saw her last week, actually. She looked tired but okay. Was in a hurry, though. Didn't stop to talk. It was something, proof that she was moving through the world, at least. I thanked him and hurried home. Back in our living room, Helen and I talked about the letter again. What if this is just someone taking advantage? She wondered. People hear stories about families falling out, they know where to push. I nodded. But how did they get so many details right? Anna's birthday, her writing style. Helen bit her lip. Maybe Rick isn't lying about not knowing, but maybe someone close to Anna is involved. Someone who wants to keep us apart. The truth hung just out of reach, like mist over the sound. That evening, as we were finishing dinner, the doorbell rang. I froze. Helen stood up, napkin in hand, and peeked through the window. Her breath caught. Sam! It's Anna! For a moment I didn't move. Then I rushed to the door, heart in my throat. Anna stood on the porch, her hair pulled back, raincoat draped over her arm, eyes red from crying. She looked older, more fragile, but she was still our daughter. Pop, she whispered, voice cracking. I need to talk to you and Mom. Helen pulled her into a hug before I could speak. I stood there, stunned with relief, the world spinning around me. I finally pulled Anna inside, closed the door, and led her to the living room. She handed me a folder. You need to see this. It's about Rick. And about the letter. I can't describe what it felt like to see Anna standing in our doorway after all that time. For a second, the years seemed to melt away and I saw my little girl again, frightened, vulnerable, but finally home. Helen guided her gently to the old armchair by the window, her favorite spot growing up. I sat opposite her, heart pounding, the unopened folder trembling in my hands. Pop, I'm sorry, Anna began, voice hoarse. I should have come sooner. I didn't know how. Helen reached out and took her hand, tears in her eyes. You're here now. That's what matters. Anna nodded and glanced at the folder. Please, look inside. I found these in Rick's office at home. I don't know how long it's been going on. But I think he's behind the letter. Or at least he knows more than he lets on. I opened the folder and pulled out a stack of papers. The first page nearly stopped my heart, rows of Anna's handwriting copied over and over, her signature, addresses, even "Dear Dad," written 20 times in clumsy imitation. There were also printouts of crypto wallet addresses, instructions for digital currency transfers, and even a draft of the very letter I'd received. My breath caught. "He practiced copying your writing." Anna nodded, shame burning in her cheeks. "I thought he was just messing around. He said it was for some work prank, but then I found these." She pointed to emails printed out and highlighted, each one showing desperate exchanges about money, debt, and someone named Vince. Apparently a loan shark Rick owed over $40,000. Helen's hand flew to her mouth. "Oh, Anna." She looked so tired, but relief flickered in her eyes. "I confronted him last night. He tried to lie, said I was imagining things, that maybe you'd hired someone to frame him. But then I found this." She slid a crumpled sheet across the coffee table, a note with my phone number, our address, and even my birthday written out in Rick's sharp handwriting. I felt sick. "He was planning more, wasn't he?" She nodded. "He thought you'd be so desperate to hear from me, you'd send money without asking questions. He was going to keep it going, different emergencies, always just enough to cover his next gambling debt." The room went silent. Helen squeezed Anna's hand, her own trembling. I tried to keep my voice steady. "Are you safe? Did he threaten you?" Anna shook her head. "No, not physically. But he said if I left, he'd ruin my reputation at work, tell everyone I was unstable. I don't care anymore. I packed a bag this morning and came straight here." I was so proud of her then, prouder than I'd ever been. She'd found the courage to break away, to face the truth, and to come home. "You did the right thing, sweetheart. We'll protect you. You're not alone." Helen wiped away her tears and stood up. "This calls for coffee. And pie. We need something sweet after all this." Anna managed a tired laugh, and for the first time in years, the three of us sat together at the kitchen table, no walls between us, no secrets left in the shadows. I called the police, gave them the evidence Anna brought. The officer promised to investigate, and told Anna she'd done the right thing by coming forward. We ate in silence at first, comforted by the normal rhythm of home. The sound of forks on plates, the smell of coffee brewing, the sight of Anna sitting at our old table, it all felt like a miracle. As the sky outside faded to a blue dusk, Anna told us everything. How Rick's gambling had started just after their wedding, how he'd lied about his job, forged her signature on checks, and isolated her from friends and family. How he'd twisted every argument until she doubted herself, until she finally stopped reaching out for help. Helen hugged her, whispering, "You're safe now, darling. You're home." Anna smiled, a real, genuine smile that reached her tired eyes. "I don't know what happens next, but I want to stay here for a while. If that's okay." I choked up, unable to speak. I just nodded, putting a hand on her shoulder. "This house is your home for as long as you want it, Anna. We'll figure out the rest together." For the first time in 3 years, hope bloomed in our house again. The storm that had battered our family for so long was finally breaking, and the three of us faced the future side by side. That first night with Anna home, the house felt warmer than it had in years. After pie and coffee, Helen insisted Anna take her old room upstairs, still painted the same gentle blue from her high school days. I heard her moving around long after midnight, drawers opening, the floorboards creaking as she unpacked her bag and maybe, her memories too. I barely slept myself. I wandered the house in my slippers, stopping at Anna's doorway just to listen to her quiet breathing. Sometimes a father just needs proof his child is safe. Downstairs, Helen sat at the kitchen table, tea in hand, looking both exhausted and peaceful for the first time since all this began. We woke to sunlight streaming through the kitchen window. Anna sat across from me, her hair still mussed from sleep, eyes puffy but brighter. Helen made pancakes, the way she used to for birthdays. We ate in silence, but it wasn't the uneasy quiet of strangers. It was a peaceful hush, the kind that fills a home when wounds are finally allowed to heal. Over breakfast, Anna started to talk, haltingly at first, then with more confidence as the morning went on. She told us about the last 3 years, how Rick's gambling had gotten worse, how he kept secrets, drained her savings, and used every trick in the book to make her doubt herself. I kept thinking I could fix him, she said quietly, pushing her fork through her pancakes. But I was really just losing myself. Helen reached across the table, squeezing her hand. You found your way back. That's all that matters now. The police called that afternoon. The officer we'd spoken to had followed up on Anna's evidence. Rick was being questioned. There'd be an investigation, but Anna could breathe a little easier knowing her side of the story was being heard. I tried not to think about revenge or punishment. All I wanted was peace for Anna. Still, it was hard not to let old anger flare up every time I pictured Rick's smug grin, his cold eyes. I'd wasted years hating him, but now all I wanted was to focus on what was left of our family. Later, Anna and I took a walk through the neighborhood. It felt like old times, me keeping pace with her as she pointed out houses that hadn't changed and the old oak tree where she'd carved her initials in 3rd grade. Did you ever come back here after you moved out? I asked quietly. She shook her head. No. I thought it would hurt too much. But I was wrong. It feels good to be back. We stopped at the park where Anna had learned to ride a bike. I remembered her wobbling, me running beside her, shouting encouragement. She'd fallen 100 times, but always got back up, stubborn as ever. Now, she laughed softly. You know, I used to think you were too strict, too careful. But after what I've been through, I get it now. You just wanted to keep me safe. I always will, I said, my voice thick. Even if I mess up along the way. She leaned into my shoulder, just like she used to when she was small. Thank you for not giving up on me. That afternoon, Helen found the old photo albums and spread them out on the coffee table. The 3 of us sat together, flipping through pages of birthdays, vacations, school dances, and quiet afternoons in the backyard. Every picture was a reminder of what we'd lost, but also of what we could still reclaim. Anna started making plans. She called her office to explain why she'd been absent. She asked Helen for advice on lawyers, good ones, who could help her start divorce proceedings. She even talked about finding her own place in Seattle again, somewhere close to us. The days slipped by. The pain didn't vanish overnight, but it softened at the edges. Anna fell into old routines, helping Helen with dinner, arguing with me about baseball scores, laughing at my old man jokes. Sometimes we'd talk late into the night, filling in the blanks of those lost years. Sometimes we just sat together, letting time and presence do what words could not. The letters and fake emergencies were behind us. The damage Rick had done would take time to fully mend, but Anna was strong, stronger than I'd ever given her credit for. One night, as Helen and I got ready for bed, Anna appeared in the doorway, holding her old stuffed bear. Pop, she whispered, thank you for being here. For everything. I hugged her, fighting back tears. This is your home, Anna. It always will be. No more years lost. No more silence. For the first time in what felt like a lifetime, I slept soundly, knowing my family was together again. By the end of that week, our house in Ballard was filled with a kind of quiet hope I hadn't felt in years. Anna was still staying in her old room, helping Helen bake pies, and even started tending the garden, pulling weeds and planting new bulbs, as if making up for all the time lost. Every morning, I'd wake up to the smell of fresh coffee and the sound of mother and daughter laughing softly in the kitchen. I'd stand at the doorway just to listen, grateful for the second chance none of us thought we'd get. The police called again. Rick's scheme was unraveling. The officer said they traced several similar letters to other families, He'd gotten desperate enough to target people he barely knew, trying to claw his way out of debt. Anna would need to give a statement, but she was ready. Her voice was steady as she told the story to the detective, clear and true. I sat by her side, pride and sadness mixing in my chest. One bright Saturday, Anna surprised us by coming down to breakfast with a new letter in her hand. "It's not bad news," she said, seeing the look on my face. She set it on the table and slid it toward me. I thought it was my turn to write. The envelope was familiar, but the handwriting was truly hers, no shaky imitations, no hidden desperation. I opened it, and Anna watched as I read. "Dear Pop and Mom, I know I can't erase the last 3 years, or all the pain we've been through. But I want you to know I'm so grateful you never gave up on me, even when I gave up on myself. I'm sorry for letting anyone, especially Rick, come between us. I'm sorry for every holiday and birthday I missed, for every call I didn't return, and for all the times I made you feel like strangers in your own family. Thank you for saving a place for me. Thank you for loving me, even when I wasn't easy to love. I want to move forward. I want us to be a family again, for real this time. Love, Anna." My hands shook a little as I finished. I looked up and found Helen in tears, her arms around Anna, the three of us hugging tight, breathing in the scent of coffee and pie, and something else, belonging. After breakfast, Anna asked if we could go for a walk, just the two of us, like old times. We walked down to Salmon Bay, sunlight glinting off the water. She told me about her plans. She'd already found a new apartment not far from us, and she wanted to invite us over once she was settled. She was meeting with a lawyer on Monday to start her divorce. She wanted to volunteer at the local community center, maybe help other women who'd gone through something similar. "I used to think independence meant doing everything alone," she said. "But I see now, it's about knowing who you can count on, too." I nodded. "You always had a home to come back to. And you always will." Back at the house, we spent the afternoon cleaning out her old room, boxing up childhood trophies, old books, a shoebox full of letters I'd written her while she was away at college. Anna found her old high school yearbook and burst out laughing at a photo of me, hair wild, grilling burgers in the backyard. "You look like a rock star, Pop," she teased, and for the first time, I felt the years lift away, replaced by pure joy. As evening settled in, Helen set 3 plates at the dinner table, and we sat down for a meal with no secrets left, no hurt unspoken. We laughed, remembered old stories, and made plans for the future: Thanksgiving at our house, a road trip to Mount Rainier in the spring, and weekly Sunday dinners, no matter what. Before bed, Anna hugged us both. "I'll be okay," she promised. "And you will too. No more silence. No more missing years." After she went upstairs, I lingered in the living room, gazing at the family photos on the mantel. I thought about how close we'd come to losing everything, how a single fake letter nearly tore us apart. But in the end, it was a real letter, a simple apology, a promise, a daughter's hope, that stitched us back together. I sat down at my desk, pulled out a piece of paper, and wrote Anna a note of my own. "Dear Anna, there's nothing you could ever do to lose my love, and no distance you could go that I wouldn't try to cross for you. Welcome home. Let's never let go again." I slipped the letter under her door that night, just as I used to do when she was little, afraid of thunderstorms. For the first time in 3 years, I fell asleep without fear, knowing that, whatever else the world brought, my family had found its way back home.